Hi, this is Jackie, and welcome back. I'm happy to be sharing the results of Survey 2 with you. The focus of this survey was looking at religious services. Why go? What motivates and what also doesn't motivate. In looking at the participation this time, we dropped a little bit, and so I'm going to focus on that more. We had a total of 60 people, still had the same splits. 25% of the group were men, and men, you covered all of the age groups. So that was still, I'm very encouraged by the men's participation. We had more diversity on the religious affiliation as shown, with Christians at 89%, Buddhists, Hindu, Baha'i faith, and also in non-religious, we had atheist participation. Regional diversity includes the Americas and Africa and Asia. And again, with time, I'm expecting that that's going to continue to improve. And then the age groups, the age 50s really were more dominant in this survey than in the last. We had a little better balance with the 30s and the 40-year-olds. Again, I'll just encourage everyone to please contribute. It really paints a truer picture when we have, an even more balanced view. But I want to thank every one of you that took the time to contribute because each of your input is very valuable. This time the survey results showed some interesting contrast based on gender and age. And, I would typically have covered all of the survey results, but I think each is worth discussing more deeply. And so I'm splitting the posting of the results into two. This is part one, and I'm going to be highlighting gender distinctions. And then part two will come out in about 10 days, and that'll be looking at age. In the interim, as I go through this, and you'll see at the end of this presentation, I'm going to be encouraging you for more community dialogue, especially where the sample size is small. You've got good, rich insight, and I'm going to ask you to please contribute that. So let's see what you had to say. By the way, I call part one, he says, she says. Question one was, who introduced faith and spirituality to you? Overwhelmingly, it was parents. And I don't think that's surprising. I mean, parents are the most influential people in your lives. And that was 80% that cited their parents. And this was universal. There wasn't a gender difference in this regard. To question two, when you began attending religious services, why did you go? And you could select up to 3 options that were shown. This is what you had to say. Again, the role of parents and family came in quite heavily. 70% first attended religious services because it was a family practice and it was an expectation. 35% cited that they also attended to learn more about God. I think it's a little interesting. Men were a little higher than the average on the family requirement. So I don't know if that means that mom and dad had to make men make their young boys come to church or not. I'm not sure. Women, 40% more. 40% of you cited learning more about God. And then the other categories were as shown. You first attended out of respect for your heritage. You attended for spiritual growth, to establish a religious foundation, and to do better and be better. One of my favorites was this quote. Look, I just wanted to hang with my friends. And I think that also speaks to the community. The third question. Think of a time when you were most enthusiastic about attending religious services. Why? Why did you enjoy it so much? And you could select up to 5 from these options that were shown. And I always have an other option so that people don't feel hemmed in. They can express themselves in a written form. This ranged from I've never been enthusiastic to include several, as you can see. I was given a chance to use my talents. My children were active and engaged, so on and so forth. So what did you say? Overall, fellowship, spiritual growth, the music, leadership excellence, and sermons and lessons that challenged me were cited by at least 50% of the survey participants, with fellowship, again, fellowship with family and friends, coming through as the strongest reason why you enjoyed it so much when you were most enthusiastic. But let's peel the numbers back a little bit because that's where we see some interesting gender distinctions. The first column shows the overall scores, percentages that I just cited, and then I show men and women. And if you look for men, excellent leadership was most influential for them. 60% of them cited that as contributing to why they enjoyed services so much when they were most enthusiastic. For women, it was more about the environment. Music came in at the highest, followed by fellowship, and sermons and lessons is also shown at 60%. Look at the real contrast here, though. Music. Men rarely cited music as being part of why they enjoyed the services so much. Doesn't mean that they don't like the music. It just wasn't as much of an influencer as some of the other aspects that they cited. And they gave sermons and lessons a much lower score than the women did. Both genders were comparable, though, in rating child engagement, community outreach and impact, as well as a use of their talents. The fourth question and last that I asked was, think of a time when you were not enthusiastic. What were the general issues? You could pick up to 4 from several options. This is what you had to say. Overall, hey, when I wasn't enthusiastic about religious services, the general issues were leadership concerns, little spiritual growth, I had a loss of faith, and I didn't feel welcome. And these are the percentages of the respondents that selected those. Again, leadership concerns, tops, was at the top of this list, near the top of the last. What I have to point out, though, is men and women agreed on the issues contributing to lack of enthusiasm about religious services. Take a look at those numbers. Everything in green are highly consistent ratings. The only real difference was men cited little spiritual growth far less frequently than women did as a dissatisfier. But leadership concerns, loss of faith, and not feeling welcome were, men and women virtually agreed on those. So there's alignment on what we don't like. I would also say there were a large number of situations that individuals wrote in to say that when I wasn't enthusiastic about religious services, it was because of some situations. For example, during my divorce came in several times. Homophobia was cited as a reason when someone wasn't enthusiastic. A general feeling that the church wasn't helping people came up and was cited as well. Did you notice that leadership motivates and demotivates to the same extent? When I asked the first question about when you were most enthusiastic, leadership came in. Excellent leadership was 53%. And on the downside, leadership concerns was 54%. Leadership can make the difference, and we'll get into that on another survey at a later time. So here's my call to action page, and I need your help. Because the sample size is small, I'm going to ask you to help me test the findings. I need to know what you think. Men, first of all, does this ring true? Does this sound right to you? Does the caliber of leadership really influence your enthusiasm for participating in religious services? And, do you feel that there are some aspects like music that are overly emphasized? What do you think? Are you less moved by sermons and lessons, or do you consider that as part of leadership excellence? And women, does the environment meaning fellowship and music and the teachings, does that truly drive your enthusiasm? Give me some examples. Talk a little bit about this. And I also want to know, do you feel less affected by the caliber of leadership? Women cited that less frequently than did men, but it was at least cited by 50% of the women. So, what do you think? Here's a question. Why do you think community impact ranks so much lower and having engaged children ranks so much lower? That one's a little bit of a puzzle. Tell me why you think that is. And then also, for people that are in faith challenging types of situations that were cited, does your church, temple, or synagogue offer special support to people? Would you care to share that? I'm going to ask you, give it some thought. Hey, you're on the page now. Why don't you take a moment and comment now? And over the next 7 days, I'm going to give you some time. Conduct your own mini survey. And all I mean is this. Hey, talk to men, women, talk to your friends. Ask some of these very questions that I've posed in this survey and see if their feedback ties in or not. Come to this page and share those thoughts. Hey, you can feel free, post your photos, post their photos, and share your thoughts. I think it's important that we really dig a little deeper here. There's more meat here, and I want to hear what you have to say. You know, you can contact us always at 60secondpulse@gmail.com with an email. You can leave a comment on this page. And also, as I said earlier, we are on YouTube now. The YouTube channel is 60 Second Pulse Check. This video will be posted there as well. You can feel free to go and post a comment. And if you know somebody that's not on Facebook, but they check out YouTube and they're into videos and may want to, weigh in on this, please tell them that they're welcome. So remember, he says, she says. What do you say? Talk to you soon.